Hi, I'm Lippy.
And I'm Grumpy. Together we're Lippy and Grumpy Do Podcasting.
In this episode, more midnight malarkey, lots about aliens, and where have all the social media posts gone?
Now, Lippy.
Hello, hello, hello.
I've got good news.
Have you?
I've got really good news.
Do you?
Part of the reason we weren't around last week is that I had results of an MRI scan for those newer listeners. I was diagnosed with prostate cancer in December 21. 21, and then had treatment January 22, and I had the all clear last week. It's all gone. So the cancer that was targeted has been burnt away, and nothing new's appeared. Job done. I'm like a new man. Yes. So I have regained my drive, but unfortunately the last 6 months of slobbing around a bit have taken their toll. So I've lost quite a bit of strength and energy. So I immediately went swimming the following day at lunchtime and put my shoulder out. So
oh, no.
Yeah. So I had to take it a little bit easier.
Yes. Slow and steady.
Slow and steady. But I'm overjoyed with that.
Massive relief, that.
Yes, indeed. Anyway, so moving on with some pace, I had quite a lengthy communique with a Screaming Tomato down under. We were talking about car insurance was one of the things. It turns out car insurance in the UK is a lot cheaper than Australia.
Is it?
Yeah, it's almost a quarter of the price here for the same car.
Ooh, that's crazy.
I am slightly older than Screaming Tomato, but not old enough to make a significant difference. So Australians, insure your cars here. Don't think that works.
You say you're slightly older, but I've now decided that you're going to be my something old for the wedding.
I reject that.
You can't. It's my choice.
I reject it because Wife of Grumpy is older.
Yeah, but wife, she's not really doing anything, really, is she?
Well, nor am I.
Don't know. How old are those glasses I'm using? They can be mild.
Well, they're borrowed, aren't they? Or stolen?
They can be two. They can be two. Borrowed and old.
I can find something old for you to take. I'm sure I've got something knocking around that's very old indeed.
Okay.
Anyway, back to the Screaming Tomato. So he sent me a message carrying on from our talk about pronunciation. And he does point out it is
pronunciation.
Pronunciation, thank you. Yes, very good point, Screaming Tomato.
Yeah, but then isn't it pronounced?
Well, that's the
pronunciation is pronounced.
And he also picks up on our bit about islands and what is an island. And he says, it bugs me that Australia's island status, they call it the island continent, which is an oxymoron. And then points out that Haiti and Dominion Republic share an island. So it's all a bit mixed up, really. And I don't think...
It's a load of gobbledygook.
Well, when does a puddle become a pond, become a lake? It's that sort of thing.
I don't actually know that.
No, I don't know that either. So we talked about number plates last time.
Yes.
3D number plates in particular. And there was a bit of news in the tabloids where they were suggesting they were illegal.
Oh, I actually saw a 3D number plate on a taxi after we had that chat.
Yes, there'll be a reason for that.
Yeah.
It might have been Bob. So raising there used to be a sort of a flat plate that has shading on it, so it looks like the characters are 3D on it, which is not very good. That's not allowed after a certain date. But as far as I can tell, according to the DVLA, as long as the font is correct and the spacing is correct, the letters can be raised, and it very clearly says it. So, tabloids, you are wrong.
You are wrong. What a surprise.
Yeah, yes, quite indeed. Now, I've been looking into alternative prices for Wife of Grumpy's car insurance, as it went up by £40 this year, which for us oldies is an outrageous amount, and actually nearly 40%. So that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, that is a lot.
Anyway, so I found one that was cheaper and cancelled one and opened the other one and noted that the online portals for both were identical, just in different colours. I would imagine it's the same company behind it, which just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But what I did notice is that the existing car insurance finishes at 23.59 on the 31st of March, but the new insurance doesn't start to 0001 on the 1st of April. So
What if you're
essentially,
out
there's
driving?
2 minutes when the car is not insured.
Oh, like, what if you were out driving and you happened to crash at exactly midnight?
Yes, indeed. But I think this is to get around the problem where people
Game
don't
over.
understand midnight.
Yes, I see, but what if you crash?
Yeah.
Well, I guess maybe your insurance kicks in. So,
Well, I don't know. It would be very interesting. I might see if I can find somebody to answer that question.
I thought you were going to say I might crash and see.
No, I'm not going to do that. No, that would be pointless. Absolutely
I think
pointless.
you email the new insurance company and say, I had a question. What if I crash? That
They
might change
won't
over
know.
time.
They won't know. But I might try the insurance ombudsman.
Oh, I don't know what that is.
It's a pretty ineffective body that's supposed to help the consumer with insurance companies. But they may know the answer to that question.
Interesting.
Now, we had a request from
We
one
did.
Duck Boy for a topic.
Duck Boy also was upset that he hasn't been mentioned very much recently. To
Oh, we
which I
can't
said,
get it
you
right,
haven't
can we?
Well, I said, you haven't really done anything that stupid recently, so...
Well, that's what he complained about. It was more, what has
Yeah.
Duck Boy done now?
Exactly.
Well, Duck Boy, this is for you. So you want to know our take on alien sightings and our analysis on the subject. Now, I think it's safe to say there's been odd sightings of things in the sky for many, many years. And in fact,
Yes.
the first confirmed UFO sighting was in 1947, and in America, of course. But it's interesting how the number of sightings of things that are now on record have come after planes have started appearing more in the sky. Are the two connected? I strongly suspect they are. You can see some very odd things in the sky that turn out to be planes. So I think most of these are probably planes or some sort of substance or liquid that people have been drinking that turns them a bit subjective to this.
Yes, yes.
That said, my view has always been that if you take that the universe started from nothing, from a big bang, and there are lots of different solar systems out there, then there must be planets with life on it.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And even if you come from the belief that God made the planet and the people, why do you only make one? You would make more than one.
You'd have a practice, wouldn't you?
You would. There'll be some dodgier ones out there, some better ones out there.
Yeah, I mean, you might not put that in the business report that then turns out to be whatever sort of Bible that you follow. And I'm not mocking religion here at all, but you wouldn't necessarily list the failures. You'd only write about the one you got right.
Yes, exactly.
Given that there are other planets, the chances of them being more advanced is 50-50, isn't it? There's bound to be planets that are further ahead than us, and there'll be other planets that are further behind. This may be based on some of the stories in The Orville, which is a series we've been watching on Disney Plus, which is a bit like a modern-day Star Trek. It's very good. I highly recommend it. But there must be people or other beings trying to come out of their planet and look at other things. And it's interesting when you look at some of the probes that we sent into space, because they've got...
Where are you putting your probes?
It's been a couple of weeks. And so they've got things sort of embossed on the side of the probes that are mathematical. And I think there's a record as well that's on one of them, or some sort of tune. But the mathematics, they say, if anybody is of similar sort of intellectual standing as us, as humans, then they'll understand maths, because it should be the same across the whole universe.
Yeah.
Of course, there's possibly some higher maths that we don't understand. So the whole thing could be complete nonsense. In terms of cover-ups, I mean, there's a whole industry around Nevada Area 52, is it, or 51?
51.
51.
Area 51.
Area 51, and which was probably fueled quite a bit by the X-Files, because quite a lot of those episodes are around there, and various films. So, of course, the epicentre of UFO incidents is Roswell in, this date will ring a bell, 1947. So it seems to be a bit of a, well, they call it the flying saucer craze of 1947. So we had Kenneth Arnold's original story, and then followed up by Roswell, where people believe they saw an actual being that was taken from a craft, and is being operated on in Area 51.
Area 51.
Yeah, so it all comes back to that, and presumably that was the basis behind the film Paul, which is one of my favourite films.
Which is a great film.
It is a cracking film. Absolutely brilliant film, so I highly recommend it if you see that, but it's not a documentary. And there have been plenty of films and mockumentaries about Roswell.
Where is Area 51 supposedly located? Oh, you can actually Google it. It actually takes you there.
Yes, it's no great secret.
Oh, I thought it was a bit more secretive than that. We could take a day trip there from Vegas.
Yes, it's near Groom Lake in Nevada.
Oh, that's where we're going to drive. Oh no, we won't. We'll take Route 15.
It's quite well protected.
Yeah, and in America, there's a higher chance you're just going to get shot.
Well, it is a
trespassing.
military installation for whatever reasons, and it may have just got a bad reputation or an incorrect reputation, and they're developing military planes
Naughty
there.
things.
Interestingly, during the week, there was a question on my favourite quiz programme, House of Games. And it was the one where they get children to write the questions.
I love those.
Yeah, 3 to 11. And the thing is, they're so random. They're brilliantly random. And one of them is, what does the centre of the galaxy taste like?
Well, it depends. Is it a normal galaxy or is it a caramel galaxy?
It's not the sweets.
You're welcome.
The middle of the galaxy, they've worked this out. Scientists have worked this out because their radio telescopes can work out what substances are in the sky millions and millions of miles away. It's incredible technology.
So they figured out what it tastes like.
Well, there's an acid, and I've forgotten the name of the acid, but it's basically the acid that gives raspberry taste.
So it tastes like a raspberry?
Yeah. So do you remember when you did your skydiving and clouds you said tasted of something a bit funny?
Weird, yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you go through space, it tastes of raspberries. Or that particular part of space.
That's cool. I like that.
So presumably, aliens coming here, and who knows, they may well live amongst us, judging by some people who are either very clever or very stupid. And I'm assuming they would be the clever ones that turned up, but maybe they're just operating the spaceships.
Maybe. I would just feel like if there were aliens on the planet already, one, how long does an alien have to be here for it not to be an alien anymore? And two, we would know by now. Like, surely, if they were like hiding, we would know by now.
And this brings me on to another topic about the moon landings being fake. And my view has always been, in order to do that, back then, 1969, there would have had to be an awful lot of people involved in it. And the chances of all of them keeping stum is so small in my view.
Yeah. Someone would have sold that story for millions if they got the chance.
Somebody would have bleated. You know, it may have been on their deathbeds, a bit like the Loch Ness Monster photo.
Yeah.
Where the guy that did it admitted he's just about to pass away. He goes, by the way.
That was a fake picture.
So you would have thought somebody would have blabbed. Interestingly, and there's loads of fake moon landing websites on the internet, but there is one that actually is debunking the conspiracy theory. There is one that's debunking the conspiracy theory. One of the ones that's always got me is there's a picture of a footprint in the lunar dust. And people have said, that is not Neil Armstrong's footprint. It's proof that we didn't land on the moon. Actually, they're quite right. It's not Neil Armstrong's footprint. It's Buzz Aldrin's. And you can prove it for yourself because they've got the spacesuits in a museum, so you can see the bottoms of them.
Funny.
Yeah. And there's all sorts. There was the no blast crater when the lunar lander came down. Which sounds all feasible, but there is an explanation for it. The one I always liked was there's no stars. But then on Earth during the daytime, you don't see the stars, but they're there. That doesn't mean they're not there. And it's the same. There's daytime on the moon, and you wouldn't expect to see the stars.
No.
Yes, all sorts of malarkey that's been proved wrong, which I quite like. Because the thought of that not having taken place and being a complete hoax terrifies me.
It can't be. It can't be.
No,
I won't stand for it.
I know, I won't stand for it. Anyway, back to UFOs. There is a UFO archive for the UK. So if you are interested in having a look, there was a whole bunch of files released in 2013. Presumably that was something to do with secrecy. It's a very dull website, I have to say. It's not very
Do they have
exciting.
pictures?
Not really, no. They have a whole list of PDF files that I think you have to pay for. If you really want to have a look, you can have a look at sightings.
Yeah, you do have to pay for it.
They're people's sightings. It's not confirmation of anything. You could have been a bit drunk in the back
£3.50.
garden. I know. Well, they've got to make some money somewhere, haven't they? Now, something I came across, which had not occurred to me at all, ever, was that people in Australia, and I'm talking to you, Screaming Tomato, see the moon upside down to the way that we see it. And there's a very neat drawing, which is
I'm so confused.
If you have a look at the show notes, there's a picture there, and it shows exactly what's going on. Because basically, people in Australia are upside down.
If we're seeing the moon, they're not seeing the moon.
Not necessarily.
Well, isn't it daytime when it's our nighttime?
Yeah, but you can see the moon during the day.
Over
It depends.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the moon doesn't spin on it spins on its axis, but it doesn't spin north-south. See what I mean?
No,
so we always see it the same way round.
God,
it's the same as people in the southern
it.
hemisphere see different set of stars to us.
Interesting. I'd never thought about that.
It never occurred to me either.
No.
So that could throw off a potential alien invasion.
How?
Well, if they turn up in the UK and they look at the moon and go, yeah, and then some more come, but they land in Australia and they look at the moon and go, it's the wrong way up. What's going on here? Just saying, could have.
I think, don't take my word for this, but I think if they've got to the point where they're about to invade, they'll know that a planet is round and that different areas have different angles. I mean, if we've worked that out, I mean, we've only just worked that out. I'm sure if they're about to invade...
Hang on. We didn't work it out. I read it somewhere and went, oh, yeah.
You read it somewhere and someone's worked this out. There's someone intelligent enough. I feel like if the aliens have reached a point where they're ready to invade, they will.
Well, possibly.
But
who knows? Maybe they've just worked out how to go very, very quickly in a straight line.
Also, if they're approaching the Earth, they'll see it round.
Depends which way they come.
They'll still be round.
But which way up would they be? They could be either way up. There's no right way up, is there?
Yeah.
I mean, that would confuse me.
They could be able to walk on the ozone layer.
I mean, you know what I'm like in the Basingstoke one-way system. I mean, can you imagine if I was approaching Earth and there's no concept of up?
Yeah, fair point.
Anyway, so back to Duckboy's point, our analysis, there's definitely aliens out there. They may walk amongst us. Absolutely. They may be walking amongst us and they could be confused by the moon.
Yes.
Now then, if you follow us on the socials, you may have noticed there's been a distinct lack of them since about mid-December. And there's a very, very good reason for this. We used a piece of software called Post-Fitty, which meant that we could record one of these, we'd get a whole load of pictures, and then send them out by social media, get it all done in one evening, job done, and it just did it over the next week or so. Unfortunately, they merged with another company and closed Post-Fitty and said, oh, no, you can transfer across to a new account. Now, I got one on a Black Friday deal for about £4 a month, which was a really cracking deal. They wouldn't honour it at all. They said, no, we can give you a bit of a discount. But it was £15 a month, which, the scheme of things is not a lot. But as a hobby project that Lippy and Grumpy is,
yearly.
It's a it's quite a bit of cash. So
Yeah.
I've not found a decent alternative. I haven't looked very hard. When I say decent alternative, I mean a cost-effective or free or £4 a month.
Yes.
So if you do know of one, please let me know. But that's the reason we haven't been doing that. And I will start looking into that. The website updates, I haven't done, I don't think, since January last year. So there's a whole year's missing. So my aim over the next few weeks is to try and put the latest one on there and start to backfill them. So I've got all the notes to go on there. It's just I got out of the habit of
Actually
doing
inputting it. Yeah.
Yeah, and now there's so many that I'm just going, I don't think I can do it, but I will do it. I promise you. So I'll promise to do it if you listeners promise to look at it. How about that?
That's a fair
good
deal.
That's a fair deal.
Yeah.
Fair deal. Can't argue with that one.
I actually have a question for you.
Oh, go on then.
How would you feel if, maybe not in Cranley, maybe in Guildford, they decided to turn a church into a nightclub?
I don't think it bothers me overly, to be honest.
No. Well, that's good, because that's where I ended up on Saturday night.
So which church?
It's in Bournemouth. I don't know
not
what the
Guildford,
church
sorry.
is called,
Oh, okay.
but the club was called Halo, ironically.
Is it still a functioning church?
No, it is not.
Okay.
It is just a nightclub.
The reason I say that is there's a church in a town called Farncombe, not far outside of Guildford, called St John's, and they regularly have concerts in there. We went to see an Eagles tribute band not so long ago, and that is a fully operating church, and they have a little bar there, cash only, and cheap, which is really good, and the acoustics in there are superb. So
yes.
those two go together quite well.
Yes.
I don't know
I
about
wouldn't
clubbing.
say a dirty nightclub and a church go well together.
Well, not an operating church, no.
No.
I think the only thing I would be concerned about, but just slightly not sure about, would be if they were using a graveyard for something else.
Oh, I don't believe this church had a graveyard.
No, but I wonder if they were ever reused for building. I suspect not.
It's very in the centre, so I don't believe it was a church that would have had a graveyard, or if it did, it would have been gone before it got turned into a club.
Yeah, I think there's probably special laws about graveyards, but that would, I'm not sure I'd be comfortable having a house on a graveyard.
I hadn't thought about that bit.
No, but not, particularly in big towns and cities, churches don't have graveyards.
No.
They just don't at all. So it's not really an issue. The first flat I bought, the people I bought from, they were moving into a house conversion, or a church converted into a house. And it was lovely. I went and had a look, and it was really nice. But really expensive to heat because tall ceilings and
Stone walls.
Stone walls, yeah. But I guess you're insulated from the heat as well. So it's 6 one half dozen of another. But I don't think I have a problem with that at all.
No, well, it's a great place to go. I'd highly recommend it to anyone.
I would
in
imagine
Bournemouth.
it is. And
It
actually, you
is really
sometimes
awesome.
see it on films, don't you, where there's a nightclub scene. And quite often that is in some sort of churchy type building.
Yeah.
I'm not saying go out and convert St Paul's into...
Oh, God, no.
Whatever what did it used to be? Cinderella Rockefellers was the name of clubs when I was very young.
Cinderella Rockefellers. I don't even know what that is.
around the Croydon area there was Cinderella Rockefellers.
Cinderellas.
Don't know why. Did you have a good time in Bournemouth?
I had a great time in Bournemouth. It was a stendu, which I thought a better name was a hag do.
Yes.
Yes.
That's a combination of stag and hen,
Yes, it is.
presumably.
Yes.
So are they two separate events in the same area, or are they the same event?
Same event. There was only 6 of us. So it was a small little groupie. But I had a lovely time. I haven't really been to Bournemouth, I realised. Because we tend to go to Swanage.
Yes.
So I've driven through Bournemouth a lot, but I've never stopped.
No, I've only been a couple of times. Once to watch some rallying that started in Bournemouth. That was quite good, many years ago. And we did try and take you and the Horse Whisperer to the Sea Life Centre in Bournemouth. And the horse whisperer screamed so much we had to leave and get our money back, which they did give us back our money. And it was,
Because they were like, yes, we'll pay you to leave.
I think we were in a lift and she was screaming at the top of her head because it was dark, which is unknown because she's one of the most fearless persons I know. Yeah. That's it. But
That's
at
shocking,
a young age,
actually.
she was quite wary.
Distraught.
I think things that she couldn't see why it was happening. So the lift was shaking and very dark.
Oh, didn't know why.
Didn't like it. You would have been very young. It would have been a wet Studland weekend or week.
But yes, I had a lovely time. I didn't win the crazy golf.
Can't win every time.
I started off pretty sober and ended not very sober at all. So I started off with like 2s, and then they went to 3s, and then to 5s. Just got progressively worse.
Oh dear. Now, there's been lots of talk of sewage going into rivers and what have you in our area, Thames Water, not very nice. Back in the late 19th century, gas lamps were actually powered by sewer gas.
Ooh.
Yeah, so the methane that was building up in the sewers was then diverted
Released
into lamps.
Surely that smelt.
Well, you would have thought so, wouldn't you? There was a lamp that was on all of the time near the Savoy Hotel in London, and they believed that most of that was powered by the amount of waste from the guests staying at the Savoy Hotel. But what a great use of something that you really just want to get rid of.
That is recycling at its finest.
It really is, isn't it? It really is quite incredible. But sadly, they're no longer. Maybe it'll come back. Who knows? Maybe we'll be firing up our central heating boilers based on methane from sewage.
That would
There's a thought.
Interesting.
It would be.
For
and
sure.
Maybe there's a planet somewhere. They're just about to leave the planet on a spaceship powered by farts.
What an ending. Talking about farts, the F1 started this week.
Yes, I saw that and I was
Weekend.
very tempted on Sunday. I had a very exciting trip with a friend of mine to Lidl to purchase a plasma cutter that was on sale. That was a very good price. And he's never been to the middle of Lidl before.
That shocks me, actually. He is the prime target market for the middle of Lidl.
Yeah. Well, we got there at 10 o'clock and I booked to go to the cafe down the road at 11. And I got in there and thought, oh, blimey, I've got that wrong. We're going to be 10 minutes. We weren't. We went up and down that aisle, I don't know how many times. And to be fair, we did find things we didn't spot the first time.
Yeah.
That we didn't buy. So we didn't buy very much. I bought the plasma cutter and a cucumber.
What?
Well,
Weirdest shop ever. Why did you buy a cucumber?
Wife of Grumpy said to me just as I was leaving, if you can see a cucumber, can you buy one? So
Oh my God. The checkout person must have been like, all right.
Yeah, she was so shocked she charged twice for the plasma cutter. So
Did she?
I went, that's not right. She went, yeah, I know. Why didn't you tell me then?
Oh, yeah, I know. Just tap here, though, right?
Yeah, just tap here, yeah. I also bought, because you're coming over at the weekend, some fig rolls from Lidl, which I know you like, but unfortunately they've been discovered.
Oh, no.
So there's a packet's been hidden somewhere, so hopefully there'll be some left.
Love a figgy. But you didn't watch the Formula One.
Sorry,
That's
yes,
how
we
that
were talking about
started.
Formula One. Yes. Well, no. So I got home about 2 o'clock and I sat down and I thought, could watch Formula One because I know it's on. I didn't know where it was, so probably it wasn't on at 2. It was
3, Bahrain.
Oh, it was 3. Oh, okay, it was Bahrain. Okay. And then I thought, you know what's going to happen? I'm going to sit and watch that, and after an hour and a half, I'm going to go, I really wish I hadn't bothered. So I didn't bother.
Yes.
Was it good?
For first place, no.
Okay.
Spoilers. If you haven't watched it by now, you probably weren't going to be watching it.
No.
Obviously, Verstappen won. It was a Red Bull 1-2. So that was a bit dull. There was a bit of... Perez had to do a bit more. But what was pretty impressive and a blast from the past is who came in third. It was Alonso.
Wow.
In the Aston Martin.
Well, I never.
He honestly could be in it this year.
Well, I never.
It was just old Alonso back, you know? He's in a pretty decent car that seems to be faster than the Mercedes and the Ferrari. And Alonso just knows what he's doing.
Wow. Well, maybe it's worth having a little punt on him in the top 3 if you could do such a thing.
And also, to make it more interesting, because Chris Duckboy obviously watches the Formula One, you can do, I don't know if you've ever heard of fantasy football.
Yes, yeah.
So you can do fantasy Formula One.
Okay.
So instead, obviously, it's not, you pick your team, so you get to pick 5 drivers and 2 manufacturers. And you can have up to 3 teams in total. So I'm playing that alongside it. And I had my team of just people that I liked, which did awfully.
Okay.
And then my team where I was like, well, these people, it's more like you have a cost cap. So you can't just pick the best drivers.
Okay.
You have to be logical about who you pick. So then I picked ones with better drivers where I could afford them, and then some newbies basically, and had Red Bull as one of my manufacturers. So that one's doing all right, but my people I like is not doing well.
Oh dear.
To the point where I kicked one of them out this morning.
Can you do that then? Swap?
Yes, every week you get to swap 2 drivers.
Gosh, this is quite complicated.
It is, but it makes it a bit more fun. And first thing this morning, I was on there checking, moving them around, ready for the next race, which I can't remember where it is.
Yeah, the Lions Club has a fantasy Formula One competition, but I can't understand it. It's a bit complicated.
It is. Duckboy had to explain it to me, but then once I got the hang of it, it's Saudi Arabia next.
Is that this weekend?
No, following weekend.
Following weekend.
Yes, I would. If you are an old school Formula One fan, I would watch the highlights just to see Alonso.
Yes. Yeah,
do his thing.
That sounds good. I might do that actually.
He did some beautiful, and such an impressive overtake on Hamilton on the inside.
Was Lewis Hamilton wearing his LGBT plus helmet? Because I know there was some controversy about this before the race. I didn't
clock it, but I know he's very strong about it.
Yeah. From what I read, which is not necessarily at all representation of the actual facts, he was going to wear it, and he was quite indignant about it, and rightly so.
Yeah, he can wear what he wants.
Talking about crashes, I did manage to watch a couple of minutes of The Apprentice. And
oh, God.
It was just... I couldn't watch anymore. I had to stop.
We're struggling.
Yeah,
we are struggling. The products, the snake one.
Oh, that's the one I saw. Yes, I saw that and went...
Honestly, it dyed their skin.
That was pretty atrocious.
You can't have a face product that dyes your skin green.
The thing it came in, that snake thing, I looked at that and thought, do you know, that looks like something from the 70s that you would have shampoo or bubble bath in as a kid. There was something very memorable about it. But yeah, it's I don't know, it's had its time, I think.
Yes.
It needs to stop. It's not representative of people that are good business people. The tasks are too old, and you can't do any research or use the internet or phone your mate. It's this crazy. It needs to stop. I might start a campaign actually, just to stop.
It either needs to stop or it needs a mass revamp.
What I would like to see is an episode where the 3 of them go out and do the same task with the same restrictions. So they can't phone anybody. They can't look at the internet. They just have to get on and do it. Because they are a bit smug at times.
Well, the guy, he's done it because he won.
He has done it, but it was... yes, so have I. I can picture him. I can't think of his name.
Not Tim.
Tim. It is Tim something.
Oh, it's Tim then. Yeah, Tim.
Yeah, he's got through that. But, you know, the 3 of them, they judge, 24 hours to produce a product when you know nothing about doing that. It's about managing a process, and I think that's the important bit in it. But they are picking something that would take another company months and months and months to design and perfect. You're doing in a few hours. It's going to look shambolic. The people I really feel sorry for is when you pull in a designer and they're doing some sort of app or something.
And also,
on the
their
screen
companies are like splashed all over it. And I'm like,
Yes.
they want their company associated with that? Because it's not really their idea, choice, time. Like, they would never produce that if you had hired them to produce that.
Absolutely not. No, you're quite right. You're quite right. Anyway, we've prattled on for quite a long time and we've not got to the bottom of the list.
Oh, no.
But you've killed off Lippy's top tip, haven't you? You've replaced it with something new.
Yes, maybe just for 1 week. We'll see how it goes.
Oh, okay. And
Depends,
I can't remember
you know.
what you've called it. It was so long ago we spoke about it.
I wrote it down, what I named it. Oh, Lippy New Skill.
Lippy's new skill, that was it.
Lippy's new skill.
Yes.
Yes, I have a new skill. So my new
things.
Yeah, I've remembered it now. My new skill is I can tell you whether it's frosty outside to the point where the cars are covered in ice without even getting out of bed.
Really? How do you do that?
Well, my neighbour very kindly gets up at 7:30, goes outside, turns their car on and leaves it there for an hour running whilst it defrosts.
For an hour?
I nearly went over there.
Is that across the roads?
Yes, across the road.
An hour?
In the oldest car. So it's like... It's
Is
so
it that
bad.
blue Vauxhall Senator that's across the road?
Yeah.
That goes. Wow. I'm impressed because it's J-Reg. So what's that? 92, maybe?
Don't know.
1992, somewhere around that time. And I've not seen one on the road for many, many years. But I can understand how it's a bit irritating if that's... Because that's a thumping great V6, isn't it? So
It's just... Yeah, but it's given me a new skill. So I know whether I need to get up a little bit earlier to scrape my car.
Well, you should be grateful.
Yeah.
Mind you, an hour of idling is not going to do that car any good at all.
Or the environment.
No, definitely not. Although that could be a Lippy exaggeration.
No, it was because Duck Boy had left, got out of bed, and it was a work from home day for me. So I get out of bed an hour after Duck Boy.
Yeah.
And it only just went off just before I got up.
Ah, okay.
And when I say went off, it moved.
So my fun fact is, and again, never realised this before, you can actually sail in a straight line from England or the UK to New Zealand without hitting land in a straight line.
Where do you have to leave from?
I'm not entirely sure. The map is not very detailed. So you could be leaving from Wales, which is why I said UK, not England. So it's obviously over to the west. It could be Belfast. And then a straight line, you just about miss Brazil, quite close to it, and then you get to New Zealand. And
That's interesting.
It is, isn't it? And that's not assuming that the Earth is flat either. So it's a single bearing from the UK and eventually...
Assuming the Earth is round, which we pretty much know as a fact.
Well, some people don't, and I wonder about that. Anyway, we've prattled on for long enough. So we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yes.
Oh, one more thing. Ooh. Talking of space, which I didn't put in the notes, I've got a trip to the Mullard Space Laboratory in Surrey Hills. Well, I would have been by the time you heard this on Wednesday. So I shall ask them about aliens there and whether they're confused by the moon. They're talking about Mars specifically, but I'm sure I can ask a question about the moon.
You might not get invited back.
I maybe not. But I'll take your wife and Grumpy, so there's
you definitely won't get invited
zero
back.
chance of getting invited back. I shall report back in 2 weeks. That's it for this podcast. Thank you so much for listening.
You can help spread Lippy and Grumpy's view on life by leaving a review on your favourite podcast platform.
If you're not sure how to leave a review, or if you download from Spotify, there's some help at lippyandgrumpy.uk/review.
And if you would like to get in touch, email podcast@lippyandgrumpy.uk.
So it's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from him.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.